Hello everyone, this is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, I definitely have some news bits that I want to cover. There's actually a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that I want to say is that from the Fuji Rumors website, they did confirm that the X Pro 3 is coming out soon. Coming out as in it should be coming out in 2019, maybe early 2020. I know this is a very loved camera by photographers, so this is going to be interesting to see how it fits into the lineup when we have the X-T30 and the Fuji X-T3 already out. Is it going to have some more continual improvements in the sensor system or maybe the processor? I don't really know, but I think most people are thinking that it's going to have the same sensor and the same processor because it's in line with the current generation of cameras that Fuji is coming out with. Now, I will say one thing: if this camera is the one that gets the flip out screen, the more photocentric camera, I might lose my shit on that. I don't know, we'll see. If it does have a flip out screen, I would be very happy, even if it's the camera system that I would not buy, because I don't really see it as a good viable hybrid camera for what I want it to do. But we'll have to see. Hopefully we'll get some specs and some more rumors about that as we go throughout 2019. The next few items to talk about actually comes from the Fuji Love podcast. It's one of the podcasts that I do listen to, and they had Billy the Fuji Guy back on, and he talks about a lot of interesting things. So there's a couple of them that I picked out because they interest me. There's definitely a lot of content there, so if you really want to see what Billy the Fuji Guy said, you definitely should go out there, download that podcast, and give it a listen. It was a really good podcast. The first thing that I want to talk about was that Billy kind of confirmed that the X-T20 probably is at the end of its life for getting firmware updates. It's kind of maxed out on what it can do as a camera system. It seems like Billy's kind of confirmed that it is a very old camera system, even though it's only 2 years old, just because it has a lot of problems with heat, so I really can't see it getting more firmware updates in which it's just going to cause more heat issues. He also talked a little bit about how the X-T20 and the X-T30, the improvements in the image quality that you're going to get from your photos is not a huge jump. There is an improvement. I think there is an improvement, but again, I don't think it's a huge jump. So for anybody who's trying to save a little money or somebody who's debating on whether or not to upgrade just for photography, I'm in the camp where I think you should hold off at least until there's a sale or you can buy it used, because I just don't see that noticeable jump in image quality. Now, if you want to upgrade because you want the faster focusing system because you're doing, live action sports for your children and something like that, that is something that's very reasonable and you should upgrade to, because the focusing system is vastly improved. But it is interesting to note that even one of the Fuji guys talks about image quality between this generation and the last generation. Another thing that interested me was that he talked about the X-T100 screen and how it's a little bit wider than the screens that we're currently getting on the X-T30 and the X-T3. And because it's a little bit wider, there's actually more of a redesign that would have to happen for the X-T3 and the X-T30 if we want that flip out screen. And that's probably one of the big reasons why the concept of a flip out screen is being a little bit delayed on the X-T3 and the X-T30. But like a lot of people, I'm really hoping that they'll eventually go with that redesign and actually just have it to where you can flip it any way you want. Either that, or maybe on the X-T200, they just upped the video specs, give it that focusing system that we're getting on the X-T30 and the X-T3, and that could become the vlogging camera of choice for a lot of people. Of course, that's going to increase the price tag. Right now, it's around the $500 mark. If they increase the price of the X-T100 by a few $100s, would it still be viable as an entry-level camera? I think so, because when people ask me what camera I should get as a entry-level Fuji camera, I always point to the X-T30. I skip right over the X-T100 because I feel like it's just really not up to snuff. The times that I have looked at it, it just felt a little bit laggy and it just felt not like a great camera. Because if you're used to the smartphone experience and you want that in your photography gear, I don't think the X-T100 is there. I think you just feel like you're getting a subpar piece of equipment for $600. And that's not what I want to introduce people to if that's their first camera in the Fuji system. I'd much rather them, save a little bit more or spend a little bit more and get the X-T30, because I know they're going to get a good experience. It is a bit of a small camera, but they're getting the best technology that Fuji has to offer in that camera system. And I believe that is the true, entry-level camera into the Fuji system right now. So the last interesting thing that I want to talk about was Billy talked about the focusing system for video specifically, and he was talking about how the prime lenses, the f2 lineup, is some of the best lenses for video because their focusing system is very smooth and it's very fast. It's a modern focusing system, so you're going to get smooth transitions when it focuses. And that's kind of interesting, but like I haven't actually thought about getting the f2 prime lenses. I'm really not a prime guy because there's a lot less flexibility that you really get when you get prime lenses. It's really great when you're doing like behind the camera work in which there's two people doing it, because the person behind the camera can easily have 2 or 3 of those lenses and switch out on demand. But if you're a solo person, a solo content creator like me, I'd much rather have a lens that's a little bit more variable because it's just going to be a little bit more flexible for me. Unless, of course, it's in a studio like environment like this, in which case I'm talking directly to the camera. The focusing doesn't really change. In this type of setting, having a prime lens is actually very advantageous because you save a lot of money, and also you kind of know what your specs will be for all of the videos you do. In this particular case, I have the 16mm. I really love it. It's one of the lenses that I always recommend if you want to do like a studio talking head setup. And I really am looking forward to trying out the 16mm f2.8 because it is definitely much more affordable. And it seems like from all reports, it's going to be a very sharp lens. So for anybody who's actually trying to do a studio setup, that 16mm f2.8, I think that's going to be one really good lens to actually use for this type of recording. If I don't already own the f1.4, that would definitely be on my list of lenses to get. The last thing that I want to say is I want to thank everybody for the feedback on the Capture One. On the last Fuji Friday, there was definitely a lot of great comments, and there were people that had opinions on both sides, and I'm really happy of that because there's definitely not a right or wrong opinion on this. There's definitely going to be people that are going to like Lightroom. There's going to be people that like Capture One, and there's a few other softwares that other people have mentioned. But for me, I'm just trying to learn one at a time. So I did definitely grab a Capture One license just because it was on sale. Seemed like a really good price. So I'm definitely going to try to tinker with that a little bit. I just want to give a thank you to the community for all that feedback. And yeah, I'm definitely going to try that out and see where I get with that. But anyhow, that's all I have this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.